Yeah.
No, I just start over there. Yeah, use that one. Okay, Tatiana, can you turn off the light?
The top one?
Both, yeah, let's do that. Can they see?
Just like this. Yeah, I can see perfectly.
Huh? Okay, so this is a graph. It's a sine graph. And some people says, well, it could be cosine graph as well. So Benny, come up, pay attention. So have you guys go to the beach?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys go to the beach. Florida's known for a beach. And then have you just kind of lay on the beach and then the tides start coming into you, and then you pretty much just sit there and then you cover in water, or you build a sandcastle and then the water come and destroy it, and then come back down. The next day the sandcastle's not there. So if you think about it, this is actually, I got an image from Google, and so about this real measurement of tidal change in the winter Boston. Okay, this is a day. This is what happened, and then so I'll let you tell me what happened to this graph. What do you think happened to this graph? So on the bottom, look at the axis. What kind of unit on the bottom? Time. And what kind of unit on the side on the y-axis? Feet. So what happened at 6 o'clock?
It was
0.3 feet. So what I'm doing is this. The way they measure this type of stuff is they take a ruler and they connect the ball, and then with a ring connect to the ball. And that ring is wider than the ruler. Okay? So what happened is they're just gonna go stick it on the floor and then just measure the height. How far the ball is gonna flow, because the water come in, it's gonna push the ball up. So every hour I'm gonna go there, hey, record down the height. So I'm gonna think about at 12 o'clock. We start at 12 o'clock, we're at the highest, 10 feet. Okay? About 9.9 feet. So I'm gonna go stick up there and say, okay, big long ruler, maybe 20 feet long, and then connect the ball over there. So at 12 o'clock, it's gonna be at 9.9 feet. And there's a time change. Every hour I go do a measurement. So at 1 hour, I'm gonna go do a measurement. So it's roughly like 8 point something feet. And then you see the ball start coming down because the ocean start receding. And then start coming down more and more and more. All the way to 6 o'clock, there's almost no water, 0.3 feet on that ruler. The ball is only floating about 0.3 feet. And that's how they do it in science. So a lot of people says math and science are not related, but they are related. Ken, did you put your computer away? So those are the things that you want to think about. And then I will do it all the time. I will record down all the things. There's the only thing that I don't think is right mathematically. What do you think in this image? What do you think? I don't like something. Can you predict why I don't like it? 9.9 feet? Well, it's okay. I mean, we've been using British system for a long time, and that's been that way for a long time. And 9.9 feet is very close to 10, so I can deal with that. But, that's okay. We can talk about that in a second. But there's something that we're going to talk about. Probably major difference. What would you say? What?
The average. The one is like in the middle, 5.1.
Well, that's okay. That's pretty clear. What else? What else?
You know, like the overall line.
The scale x-axis. Good. The scale x-axis. Why I don't like it? It's not in term what? Oh, not in term of pi. Okay. That's okay. That I can deal with. But what's wrong with the x-axis units? I think Michael should be able to tell me better on that one.
Oh.
Why I don't like that time?
How does it repeat it?
Because like it's not scientifically accurate. Like noon isn't 12. Like they should put 12, like
So what do you think 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. should be?
1 a.m. It should.
13. Should be 13.
Mhm.
Should be 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Because mathematically that doesn't make sense. You go to 1 to 12 and go back to 1.
Mhm.
So that's the only thing that I don't like about the time fragment part. And I think about that, it's also, it's a very, very,
How is that?
very, very important here. So the time, I will prefer to be that. So let's look at this time. And let's deal with what this time is, and let's go back. And Tatiana, can you help me turn on light now?
I'm playing this over there. I'm playing this over there.
Yeah.
If it blows up, it blows up. I'm not
What happened?
I don't know.
You don't know, it's just saying.
Okay, so
We thought.
No, it wasn't.
what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at this graph. Now we're gonna model a function look like this on decimals. And how do we do that? We're gonna look at this function. We're gonna say, hey, we're gonna create a sine function and cosine function look like this. Okay, look like this, and it will be much more better because I think if I can model it, I can predict at 8 o'clock how high that tide is. At 7 o'clock how high the tide is. I can predict at 7:30 how high the tide is. I can predict at 7:08 how high the tide is. So that is a very, very, very important lesson for you guys to learn, modeling. This is the only real thing about math. About math, we can do calculation all day long, but that's not important. If you can model something, that's what you're gonna get your job in the future. Okay? Because computer more likely is gonna do that for you, but you gotta learning how to generate the data, you gotta learn how to get this data into the graph, and you gotta be able to read this graph, get the mathematical equation out of this. So let's think about the mathematical equation. We have two cons over there. Okay? So what happened is we're gonna show you an image of this part. And we're going to talk about this. Midline. How do I find a midline? Midline is a d value in terms of ABCD. The midline is max plus min divided by 2. Does that make sense? If I take the highest value, take the lowest value, I take a midpoint, that's going to give you the value of d.
It's literally the midpoint.
Yeah, that's a midpoint formula. That's what we learn about midpoints. Period is 2 pi over b. Now you say, okay, how is that relevant? Well, 2 pi over b is going to be equal to period. But what is the period? The period is a distance from peak to peak, trout to trout. And somebody in second period says trout. How to spell trout, Mr. Ye? T-R-O-U-T?
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
fish.
That's a fish.
And a
And Miss Walker was here doing observation. And I was like, oh boy. Trout. Trout is T-R-O-U-G-H, to trout. So peak to peak, trout, trout. But I should make you laugh, so it's funny. Amplitude is the distance from the maximum value to the midline. So I can subtract them and equal to A. Okay? So peak to peak, how do I do mathematically? I can subtract them. I can subtract the one peak, subtract another peak, and then I do absolute value of it, the x value. So this is the x value. Okay, so if you want to write it down. Amplitude is going to be maximum minus midline, minimum minus midline, and this is very essential. Where does graph start? I can choose the model this graph in sine graph or cosine graph. I can choose that. Now, I can choose the cosine. If I choose the cosine, I will pick the highest point. If I choose the sine, I will pick the middle point. If I pick a negative sign, I'll choose the middle point that's going down. Cosine of x, I can pick a lot of things.
I will not sit there.
So this is a very important for you to think about. So how do we model this equation? So I'm going to talk about how do we model. And we're going to go back to the other side. We're going to create a model based on this equation. So solve direct. Okay. So we're going to talk about y equal to a sine bx minus c plus d. And y equal to a cosine bx minus c plus d. Now we're going to look at a graph. And we kind of recreate our graph a little bit so I can see on the video. Here it's going to be 9.9, and that's going to be something like this, and come back down. And that here at 6 a.m. and nope, that's not right. It's going to be like something like this at 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. Does that make sense? And come back at 6 p.m. which is, I don't like 6 p.m. would be 1800. So that's why I say it's better to use, the thing. So I hear 9.9 and somewhere at 0.3. That make sense?
Yeah, are you taking attendance?
Yeah. Did that? Done that. Okay, so now what happened here? We're going to take this function or this function. Which function you like?
The first one.
They both do.
No, cos.
Y cos?
Sine.
No, y cosine.
Because it's up. It starts higher on the thingamabob.
Maybe he's got a point. Look at the cosine. We already start at P.
Oh, you were asking which one you wanted? No.
Yeah, but can you start at anything? You can start at anything. So let's look at this. There's a midline here. There's a midline at around 5.1. So let's say we want to start cosine or you want to start sine. And we're going to go with Michael's because Michael is thinking, I want to start cosine because I start at the top. So what do I just take this function? Y is equal to a cosine of b of x minus c plus d. So let's figure out d first. So d is equal to what?
Maximum plus minimum divided by 2.
Plus mean divided by 2. So that's going to be what? That's going to be 9.9 plus 0.3 divided by 2. That's equal to 5.1. And they already give you that. So can I go here? And I can say 5.1.
Yeah.
Now, how do I find maybe A first?
Maximum value minus minimum value minus.
Okay, so amplitude is equal to the distance, absolute value of max minus the mid. So that's equal to 9.9 minus what? 5.1. So that's equal to 4.8, I think. So I can go back and change 4.8. Am I going too fast?
No.
Now I'm going to go to the B value. This one's the hardest one. This one has required the most math. This one is a math question on SAT all the time. It's like in similar triangle and all kind of things I can think about. So let's say 4.8 and let's say B. So how do I find the B?
B is period, right?
B is causing the period, but it's not period. B help you model the periods. So how do I find the periods? What is the definition over there for P?
Don't you need S?
2 pi divided by B.
Yeah, but what is the period first? If I look at this graph, what's my period?
The period is 6.
Nope. Almost. That's a half a period.
Also 12. 12, right?
Peak to peak. Right? So this one's 12. So a period is equal to 12 o'clock, subtract 0 o'clock. So that's equal to 12 hours, right? So I can say that's 12 hours, that's period, but that's not B though, right? Is that B?
No.
No, we need to go back and do calculation. So here's the calculation. Is a 2 pi over B is equal to 12 over 1. So I might make sure over 1 because that I can cross multiply. This is a common SAT technique. A lot of you guys know how to solve this very easily, but a lot of you guys in this room doesn't know how to do it. So I would do 2 pi B equal to 12 over 1. If they both are ratios, if they both are fractions, I can do something called cross multiply. So if I cross multiply this, so that's going to be 2 pi times 12b. 12 pi is equal to 12b. Does that make sense? And I can solve for b. How do I solve for b? Divided by 12. So that's pi over 6 is equal to b. And you say, okay, b is pi over 6. Can I change that b now? So what do you think the C is?
Well, you have to, what did you have to divide by? I think maybe 6.
It will be 6.
Can be two values here according to this graph. But there was one easier than the other one. 0. Why 0? So I don't have to shift. I can start at this point, right? I can go in here. I can start at this point. So C is 0 or 12. Why is 12? I'm going to show you. Okay, now we're going to say, hey, that's my cosine function. Y is equal to 4.8 cosine of pi over 6 times by x minus 0 or x minus 12. We can try both. Cosine pi over 6, 4.8 plus 5.1 plus 5.1. Am I make you kind of lost?
No.
Yeah.
So what if I want to write in terms of what if sine? What if I want to write in sine? It's going to be the exact same thing, but I'm going to change this to sine of pi over 6, right? Of x minus something plus 5.1, 4.8, y is equal to, can I write in sine?
I mean, if you do, would.
Wouldn't you be changing if you write something?
Yeah, then you have to look at this point.
Oh, thanks.
9. So, because if I want to sine, I want to start right here. I can do negative sine too. It'll be at 3 o'clock. Okay, so
How
this
would
one,
that be negative sign though? If it's-
because the sine is a midline going down.
Oh, okay.
This is a midline going up, so this is a possible candidate for sine. And this is actually negative sign, but you had it according to the shift. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, now we're gonna see this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use a computer. And we're gonna give you a different kind of wave. And you wanna figure out. Here's what I will give you. I use the second period as a test trial, and I failed miserably. And for my observation, which is okay. I don't really care. I don't have common board. And so I don't really care about observation, but I really care about student can learn something from it. So what happened is this. I want you to type in this equation there. And I want you to do what? I want you to write A sine parenthesis B x minus C parenthesis plus D. I want you to write it down first on your computer later on when we do an activity. And every time you just copy and paste. So you're gonna copy the whole thing and just insert a value inside. If you see 0, just plug in 0. If you see 1, just plug in 1. So that way you're not gonna have same issue as what we have in second periods. So here's what you want to do. You're going to compute it out. You're going to work in group. You need to go back to each group. So you need to go back to. You can stay.
I don't know.
Bendy can stay in that group.
I mean, if it's gonna
Actually,
explode, I'll explode it with you guys, you know.
Tatiana,
Why would you say that?
can you change your opinions?
I don't understand even.
Oh, let's try it. No, it's not bad. So what I wanted you to do is I want you to go to student.decimal.com.
I'm ready to turn it on.
That's like the teachers won't do it in your rest though.
It was aimed towards them, like,
Yo, if that bit explode, I'm hiding behind.
Get your computer out. Come on.
You gotta get something out.
Mason, my laptop is dead.
Okay.
Jaden's getting his out.
Huh?
Jaden's getting his.
Okay, so you're gonna work with Jaden as your group.
Yeah.
So what you're gonna do is we're gonna go in. So this is actually a pretty fun activity.
It's not turning on.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, sorry,
It's
I'm fine.
been on. He's just looking at the computer. Oh, I'm still the.
okay, I think it's
What code do I-
yeah.
Code's open.
And it's working.
This is like fish.
Your laptop? Take a shower?
Oh, you opened
Damn,
it.
it was brand new too.
Good?
Yeah, it's working.
Oh, your laptop's open.
No, I'll be
Okay, so
Sure, let's see.
Ben, Jerry, sit down here so I can work.
Jerry.
How do you find something?
You said Jerry.
It's either Jerry, everybody calls me Jerry.
Okay,
Jerry.
so student.decimal.com and the group code is GZP5P7.
How do you find C?
Huh?
How do you find C?
C is depending on where you start, right? C is if I have C right here, right? If I start this point, the C is gonna be 9 because that's my sine graph. I choose the sine graph, I start at C.
If you chose the cosine graph.
If I choose the cosine graph, it's gonna be at 6 or 0. But it depends, negative cosine or positive cosine.
G, Z,
GZ P 5P7. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna type in this equation in, and you're gonna do copy. You copy, and then just change all those ABCD values. So that way, it's make your life a whole lot easier because technical issue in second period is a lot of problem. Like people have a problem, it's like don't know what to think. But ABCD must be one type of value. It could be 0, could be 1, could be 2, could be 2 pi. But here, cross multiply is also something really hard for students. So you need to use a pencil and pen and the paper to work it out, the period and amplitude and stuff like that. So that's kind of nice work.
Do we have a,
So also graph in the midline first. You can use your computer to graph midlines. So there's one in midline first.
what is it?
So midline first. Follow direction.
Oh,
Okay, now.
To do,
You
so I guess these are the questions, and then we have to answer them here.
Okay, now you want to do it in cosine now.
Write the equation.
So cosine, you want to choose this point to start.
So we're.
You can click on the point. And you say pi over 2, so what do you think that shift has to be? So, don't do it on this first equation. This one is a midline. Right equation by the midline. Don't do it on the second one. So copy and paste this to not the first one. The first one they say midline. The second one when they say sine graph.
So how do you get
Okay,
sine?
so do you know what point, what point this is?
Because I did yesterday, I was like, it's
Sine.
I wasn't like.
Wait, do we replace A, B, C, D with numbers?
Yeah, then when you find ABCD, you start replacing one by one.
Wait, we find this.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, okay,
Oh, we're gonna find this one and then we're gonna replace it. with
yeah,
this
but you
one.
could have just done minimum plus maximum divided by.
So you copy that all the time, so you just copy and paste, copy and paste on each one. And you can change it to cosine when you copy and paste, you know?
Negative 2,
You can't do that?
Minimum
iPad you can
is
copy.
-4, which gives me -6 divided by 3 is -3. So for y equals.
No, you just have to
cos
highlight it and then go
parentheses.
across. It's like how you do on the phone, right?
And then we are gonna solve it.
Huh?
So you gotta write the.
Yeah, you gotta put in numbers. So you gotta put A, B, C, D in there. What do you think A in here? What do you think about, okay, so the first one is, it's just y equal to something.
Oh, I took put the actual answer.
Y equal to what?
Do you know?
So Mr. like this.
Yeah. Yeah, but not the first one. The first one is midline. Y is equal to the midline. What is the midline?
-3.
Okay, so that's now second one. If we go to the second graph, y equal to a, right? Sine, and parenthesis b, parenthesis x minus c, and then parenthesis plus b, minus c, plus b. So now you just had to replace a, b, c, d there. So you're gonna think about a is what? 1, right? B is probably, this is 2 pi divided by.
It's not graphing yourself.
One.
So -2 minus -4. So
C is probably gonna be 0.
minus
D
-4.
is.
So two negatives make a positive. You're adding, you're not multiplying. No, you're subtracting them. So yeah, when you have two negatives right next to each other. Yes, minus 2.
Mr. Fisher's like what he knows me.
Minus 2 minus -4. It's plus. What
For-
are you talking about?
For B, do you like take
No, you said,
for B, do you have to put 1? Cause I thought it was, isn't it pi?
huh?
I thought it was pi for B.
Stop. Pi. So your period, look at the peak to peak. You can click on the peak, right?
-6.
You can click on
You
the
finished
peak.
it already?
And you can say, well, peak to peak. Okay, pi over 2, right? Pi over 2 to what?
B is the midline, right?
5 pi over 2. So what is the period? 5 pi over 2 subtract 5 over 2 is what?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm getting
It's 2 pi, right?
Yeah.
So 2 pi equal to 2 pi over b, so b has to be 1.
I thought it was pi.
Okay, so say you're doing cos. If
You're not
you're
taking
doing,
all
I know if
the
you're doing
things,
cosine or sine. you do
Cause
it
I
based
thought,
off
I thought we were
you
dividing,
start
that's
the
why,
x,
I thought we
then you
were.
go x,
Yeah,
x plus y.
so look
Alright,
at the graph,
I think I
right?
How do you
Not
graph
that one.
Okay, now you're gonna do it in terms of cosine.
And
So
it's
one
starting
person can do it in sine, one person can do
on
it
the
cosine if you
midline,
work
right?
in
Like
group.
if you're looking at the point, that's like starting, like a 0 is, but also like on the midline.
So you replace the A, B, C, D as a number, not trying to number, you actually calculate them. You actually calculate them, you can click the peak to peak to find out the distance.
You can click the P to calculate it. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Then you're gonna type
Say
in
you do
y
the
with
two
a
ones near
negative
the x,
because they told
you
you.
get negative 3 pi, like over 2 minus, negative 2, and then pi over 2 minus.
No, you lost me, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at something else. So, wanna
Maybe
figure
it's
it out?
one.
I'll let you know.
They're about 2, there's the
And then
difference.
slowly walk through all the values. If you walk through all the values, you're gonna find the graph perfectly. I have to check attendance, sorry. The DM attendance. The DM attendance. A lot of people not here today, right?
Yeah. Shiloh.
Sarah's not here.
Cause like,
More left over. Alex, he usually has to do for third period, but I do, so I think it's like.
Shiloh, we talked to him.
Brandon's not here.
Did we not? Wait, was that yesterday? Oh my god.
Who was it, Brandon?
Sarah, did you find,
Brandon, Julian, Lopez.
Okay, try it. Can you guys work?
I don't think I.
Okay, then ask for help.
But she hasn't solved it out yet, but.
Huh? So, take it slowly, just replace the A value, B value, C value, D value after you copy and paste. You're gonna use those information to find your A value. You're gonna use those information to find out your B value. You have to use a B value, you probably need a cross multiply. because you want to find the distance between peak to peak. You click on a peak, you subtract another peak, you get a distance.
Okay.
Once that distance is equal to 2 pi over b, you can solve for b using the paper. Then you can replace the b. Now c is really dependent on what kind of function you start with, and c is really depends on where your shift is. Because if you start at, so for example, if I start at graphing this part, then I will use negative sign, then my shift is according to here. If I start here, it's going to be 0, my shift is, the horizontal shift is 0. If I start here, the horizontal shift is going to be 6. And that's going to be negative cosine. Positive sine, but it's going to be a 9.
Just 9?
Yeah, minus 9, something x minus 9, because that's where I start, right? I shift the whole graph here, I start right here. So, here it's going to be 12, but which function I'll be using here? Cosine. Sine again, but this one's going to be negative sine. So there are infinite amount of answers. There's not one answer. That's what's beautiful thing about this part of math. There's no one answer. There's an infinite amount of answer. You gotta just go and figure out what the A value, what's the B value, what's C value, what's D value in there. Why are you not reading chart?
So if you do sine positive 4, right? Because you're going off of 5.
No, positive 4 is moving left.
No, for sine.
Sine, the sine then I will do here, it's gonna be 3. This one is 3. It's moving right 3. So moving right 3 should be minus 3, not positive 3. Because you're moving right inside the parentheses, opposite direction.
Yeah, I don't understand how to figure out
B. So pick, guys, how do you find out B? Click on a peak and click on the next peak. Subtract the difference. So for example, if the difference is 2 pi, right? If the difference is 2 pi, then what you do? 2 pi is equal to 2 pi over b. Cross multiply. So it's going to be 2 pi b is equal to 2 pi. B is equal to 1. That's it. Then you just change the b value to 1 and done. And go on to the next one. Go type in C's and D's and stuff like that.
So when you're going from, like, when you're asking sine and cosine, if you already found one, the only numbers that are changing is.
So you did say you want to decide where to start, right? Cosine, you want to start at a peak. So you want to click on the peak, it's pi over 2. So then you want to change that same thing, be more likely the same, right? But the C is the only one to change
Okay.
because it's going to be pi over 2. And then you're done. So you have infinite amount of answer with sine and cosine. It depends which point you start.
I don't know the date one.
So for
I don't know
you
the
have to
date one.
put 3, and then this one, so pi over 2, and then this one, 5 pi over 2. Do I do 5 pi over 2 minus pi over 2?
It doesn't matter, you just have the absolute value, but distance is absolute
Oh,
value.
okay, absolute, I forgot the
So
absolute value.
that's why absolute value for. You know absolute value is using to calculate distance, wasn't it was anything, so it doesn't matter if you come left subtract right or right subtract left.
And then the other one,
C is depends on where you start. So if you look at this point, if I decide to use this point right here, 0. Okay, we're gonna come back. We're gonna give you homework today about graphing, but we're gonna come back to do this analyzing the graphs.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Is this right?
Good.
Hey, hey, I'm nice with it. I'm nice with it.